There are moments in professional sports that no publicist can spin, no organization can reframe, and no carefully worded statement can erase. These are the moments that happen between the whistles, on the sidelines, in the spaces where cameras catch what nobody intended to be caught. They are unscripted, unfiltered, and completely impossible to walk back once the world has seen them. They carry a weight that statistics cannot measure and highlight reels cannot capture. And when those moments involve a franchise player and the coach responsible for managing her, the entire sporting world locks in and does not look away until it has processed every single detail of what just happened. Indiana Fever fans witnessed exactly that kind of moment recently, and what they saw unfolding in real time on that sideline did not just make them uncomfortable, it confirmed something that many of them had suspected for months but had never seen laid out this plainly and this publicly. The reaction across social media was not gradual, it was immediate, overwhelming, and it has not slowed down since. Some things you cannot unsee. This was one of them.
I am freaking pissed right now. I am pissed off. Caitlin Clark, Stephanie White crashed out on Caitlin Clark on the bench and benched her throughout this game. That is what happened. We got footage of Stephanie White crashing out and benching Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White, who the hell you think you are? You was a bum. They ran your sorry ass out of Vanderbilt. They ran you out of there and fired your sorry ass. You was a bum. You haven't won nothing in the WNBA. You've been trying to hitch your wagon to being an assistant for a championship team. Your sorry ass haven't done nothing. Who the hell you think you are to be talking to Caitlin Clark like that?
Sideline footage from inside a Fever game surfaced and stopped the internet completely in its tracks. Not a rumor, not a secondhand account from someone who claims to have been in the building. Actual footage captured on camera showing Caitlin Clark, the most electrifying, most watched, most discussed player in women's basketball right now, turning to Stephanie White mid-game and saying something. Not nodding along, not accepting a coaching point with a quiet acknowledgement, saying something back, pushing back, making it clear that she had a perspective on what was happening and she was not going to swallow it silently and move on. She pushed back, she said her piece, and the response she got from her head coach was not the response of someone who welcomed that kind of communication from their star player. It was the response of someone who had just been challenged in a space where they were not accustomed to being challenged. The body language told the entire story before a single word of analysis was written anywhere. You did not need a lip reader. You did not need an insider source. The footage said everything that needed to be said in the span of a few seconds. This was not a healthy exchange between a coach and a player who trust each other. This was something else entirely.
Obviously, this is an argument about defense, and Caitlin Clark is basically just, because she keeps, I mean this when I say this, you've seen it on the sideline, Caitlin Clark is freaked that she's getting singled out on defense. Like, there was a defensive possession where Ty Harris fucked up and she got singled out. Like, you can tell when a person's just pissed off in situations, and you can tell that Caitlin Clark is not happy with the fact that Stephanie White regularly singles her out on defense. Like, it's not like an uncommon occurrence that Stephanie White decides that the ball, something's gone wrong, therefore it's Caitlin Clark's fault, even when Caitlin Clark's been put in a bad position.
The look on Stephanie White's face in that moment is the kind of thing that gets studied and replayed and screenshot and analyzed for weeks, because it was not a neutral reaction. It was not the measured response of a coach who processes sideline feedback professionally and files it away for a later conversation. It was visible, immediate, and unmistakable to anyone who has ever spent time around competitive environments and understands what conflict brewing beneath the surface actually looks like when it finally breaks through. The energy between Clark and White in that clip was not the energy of collaboration. It was not the energy of a coaching relationship that is functioning even at a basic level. It was the energy of two people who have been grinding against each other for a long time and had just reached the moment where that friction became impossible to contain privately. The tension was not something you had to read between the lines to find. It was sitting right there on the surface, visible to every camera in the building, broadcast to everyone watching at home, and clipped and shared across every platform within minutes of it happening. Something between these two has been broken for a while. What the footage showed was simply the moment it stopped being an internal problem and became a public one.
So right now, Stephanie is pointing at Caitlin. She's looking right at her, so she has to be talking about her. And if you look at her mouth, like she says defense, right? And Caitlin Clark, she looked like she's saying, I'm putting my hand up, and they're still calling the foul. That's what it looked like. Stephanie White didn't like that. She pointed at Raven and said, hey, man, you get in here. Dang.
What came next is the part that transformed this from a compelling sideline moment into something far more serious and far more damning. Stephanie White pulled Caitlin Clark out of the game, not because foul trouble demanded it, not because a matchup switch required a specific personnel change, not because fatigue or injury or any legitimate basketball reason existed to justify removing the best player on your roster from the floor at that particular moment. She pulled her because Caitlin Clark had spoken up, because she had the conviction to voice a disagreement in real time on a sideline, because she refused to be silent when she had something worth saying, and the player who came in to replace her was Raven Johnson, a rookie. The 10th overall pick in the 2026 WNBA draft, a young player who is still in the earliest stages of adapting to professional basketball, still building the consistency and decision-making instincts that only come with time and repetition at this level, still earning her minutes through the kind of gradual trust development that every rookie goes through regardless of their draft position or their ceiling as a player. That is the exchange that was made. Clark out, Johnson in, not because basketball demanded it, because Stephanie White demanded it. And the reason was sitting right there on that sideline footage for the entire world to see.
Stephanie White has got to go. This relationship is over. She crashed out and benched Caitlin Clark throughout the game. That is why Caitlin Clark was out of it. This is nasty. The owner needs to step in and fire this goofball, this freaking clown of a coach. See, she's a joke. She's a fucking joke. Get her out of here. And Caitlin Clark addressed it and let it be known that her problem wasn't the fouls, it wasn't the refs. Her problem was Stephanie White. Caitlin Clark come out and let it be known. Let's go, man. This is crazy. I can't believe Stephanie White got some nerve like she's some championship coach to be talking to Caitlin.
The moment that footage began circulating, the response was not measured or gradual or thoughtful. It was instant and it was massive, and it reflected the full weight of everything that has been building inside this fan base for months. Comment sections that normally take hours to fill up were packed within minutes. Timelines that cover every corner of sports media were overtaken by this single story before most people had even finished watching the clip for the first time. Every platform, every channel, every account that covers women's basketball was pulled into the gravity of this moment simultaneously. The fans who broke first were not the reactionary ones. They were the patient ones. The ones who had watched questionable rotation decisions and told themselves there was a plan. The ones who had heard confusing press conference answers and given the benefit of the doubt. The ones who had defended this coaching staff in conversations with people who were already done with Stephanie White weeks ago. Those fans watched that footage and felt something shift permanently inside them, because what the clip showed was not ambiguous. Clark leaned in, she said what she needed to say, and the look that came back at her from her own head coach told you in an instant that this relationship is not functioning, has not been functioning, and based on what that sideline energy showed the world, may not be something that can be repaired at all.
Caitlin shaking her head like, nah, this is crazy, right? Let me go back so y'all can see. You see how she's shaking her head? She's like, nah, this not it. Nah, right?
And that is ultimately why this moment has resonated with so many people, because this is no longer just about one substitution. It is no longer just about one disagreement on a sideline. It is no longer even about one game. What fans believe they witnessed was a glimpse behind the curtain, a rare moment where the cameras captured something that many people suspected was happening but had never been able to prove. Whether you agree with that interpretation or not, one thing is undeniable. People are paying attention now more than ever. Every decision Stephanie White makes moving forward is going to be examined. Every rotation, every substitution, every press conference answer, every interaction between her and Caitlin Clark will be dissected frame by frame, because once fans believe there is tension, they begin looking for evidence of it everywhere. The challenge for the Indiana Fever organization is that these kinds of stories do not simply disappear on their own.
Screaming at Caitlin Clark to start this off. And it's like, yeah, some players can take it. Yeah, coaches are going to be tough with players. But you can see, like, again, I don't know. From the outside looking, this is what it appears to be. It appears that with all of these things now, is that Caitlin Clark seems just to be pissed. Because it does seem like from the outside looking in, she is being singled out. Like, Stephanie White wouldn't be like this, isn't going to be like this when Lexi Holds doesn't play defense. She's not going to be like this when KK Timpson goes through spells in the game where she forgets she's actually a basketball player and just kind of stands there and watches as someone grabs the ball in front of her. She's not going to go mad at Kelsey Mitchell, who doesn't play defense either, who plays less defense than Caitlin Clark. And Caitlin Clark just seems to be done. She just seems to be over it.
Winning can quiet criticism, success can smooth over conflict, but when a team struggles and moments like this begin piling up, questions start becoming louder than answers. And right now, there are a lot of questions. Can this coaching staff and Caitlin Clark get on the same page? Can trust be rebuilt if trust has been damaged? Can a franchise built around one of the most popular athletes in sports afford to have this kind of visible tension surrounding its most important relationship? Those are questions that only time can answer. What makes this situation so fascinating is that both sides have enormous pressure on them. Stephanie White is expected to lead this team and maximize its potential. Caitlin Clark is expected to carry the weight of unprecedented expectations while helping elevate an entire league. Neither role is easy. Both come with scrutiny that most athletes and coaches will never experience. But with that attention comes accountability. Fans invest their time, money, and emotions into teams because they want to believe everyone is working toward the same goal. They want to believe that coaches and players are pulling in the same direction. When they see moments that suggest otherwise, concern is inevitable. Maybe this was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was simply frustration in the heat of competition. Maybe the story is far less dramatic than people are making it out to be. Or maybe this was the clearest sign yet that something behind the scenes is not nearly as healthy as the organization would like everyone to believe. Either way, the footage is out there now. The conversations are happening. The debate is not slowing down anytime soon. And as the season continues, fans will be watching very closely to see whether this was merely an emotional sideline exchange or the latest chapter in a much bigger story that is still unfolding right in front of all of us. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.